All right, so get this. We're diving into Dune today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I, for one, am so ready for this one. I know you've been wanting to get into this one too. And with the excerpts you sent over,
Yeah.
oh man, we are in for a wild ride. Frank Herbert
Yeah,
really created something special here.
he did.
Okay, so a whole planet
Yeah.
obsessed with this spice melange. Talk about high stakes, right? Especially on a brutal desert planet like Arrakis.
Yeah, well, and what I think is so fascinating is how he uses this resource, right? This incredibly valuable resource
Right.
to weave this story about politics and religion and just like human desire for power.
Yeah.
It's really something.
So you highlighted the Atreides family early on.
Yeah.
Duke Leto, his concubine, Lady Jessica, who is a Bene Gesserit with some serious skills, and of course their son Paul. And they've just landed this seemingly sweet deal control of Arrakis, the source of all that spice.
Right. You mark this passage where the Duke is talking about the opportunity, but also the weight of responsibility,
Yes.
of taking this on.
And that's where I think the Harkonnens come in because,
Right.
they've been running this thing for generations.
Mhm.
They're notorious for their ruthlessness.
Mhm.
And I think you even had an excerpt in here where the Baron Harkonnen is talking about
Oh,
crushing his enemies.
it's chilling.
It really sets the stage
Yeah.
for the danger they're walking into.
Yeah, they're walking into a trap, basically.
Absolutely.
It's like the Harkonnens have rigged this whole game against them.
Totally.
And then right in the middle of all of this, we have Paul's encounter with the Reverend Mother.
Mohayim.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how intense the scene was.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to agree.
It's a big one.
This woman puts Paul through the ringer
Right.
with that gum Jabbar test,
Mhm.
pressing that poison needle to his skin.
It's a test of his humanity.
Oh, wow.
Really, it's a test of his ability to control his mind and body in the face of excruciating pain.
Ah,
And the Bene Gesserits are always looking for individuals with this extraordinary potential.
right.
And they have their own agenda, their own breeding program to shape humanity.
Yeah, it's like they're playing chess.
Right.
But then Paul comes along and he's like playing a completely different game.
Totally.
And he's changing all the rules.
All the rules.
And talk about a game changer, Paul's visions.
Right.
His glimpses of possible futures,
Yeah.
they're terrifying.
They are.
You underlined a passage where he sees his own death, multiple deaths even.
Yeah. And it really highlights
Yeah,
how precarious his situation is.
absolutely.
Because it's not just about knowing the future, it's the burden of that knowledge,
Right. Oh, for sure.
the uncertainty of it.
Totally.
And I think that's what makes it so powerful is this prescience that he has. It's like a double-edged sword,
Totally.
a powerful tool, but it comes at a heavy price.
Oh, yeah.
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, man. And then there's Arrakis itself, this like totally brutal, unforgiving world. You highlighted how Herbert doesn't just describe the desert like he makes it a character,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
a force to be reckoned with.
He does.
And no one understands that force better than the Fremen.
Right. They are so fundamentally linked to that planet.
Yeah.
Their whole culture is shaped by just the harsh beauty of that place.
Yeah.
You mentioned that passage where they're collecting their own sweat in those still suits,
Oh, yeah.
just like recycling every drop of moisture. It's such a powerful image
Oh, it's amazing.
for just how much they respect the planet's resources.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Fremen,
Yeah.
we can't forget about those giant sandworms.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
The ones you were telling me about.
They're incredible.
They're terrifying. But
Yeah.
there's this weird, like, reverence the Fremen have for them.
Yeah, well, I think the sandworms are such a perfect example of how he kind of weaves together the ecology and the culture
Right.
because they're dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
But they're also the source of the spice,
Right.
which, of course, is essential for interstellar travel.
Right. And that article you shared about, like, the Spacing Guild
Oh, right.
and their whole monopoly on space folding.
Yes.
I mean, the spice is the key to their power.
it is.
And the Fremen totally get that connection.
Yeah, they understand it better than anybody.
Like nobody else. It's
Yeah.
like Herbert showing us that even in this harsh environment, like everything is connected.
Everything's connected.
And then we have Liet Kynes,
Yes.
the imperial planetologist,
Right.
and you marked this passage where he's talking about the potential for ecological transformation on Arrakis.
Yeah.
He seems to really believe in the possibility of change.
He does, and he's such a fascinating character, I think, because
Yeah.
he bridges that gap between the Imperium and Arrakis.
Right.
Because he gets the ecological complexities of the planet.
Yeah.
But he also sees this potential for human intervention,
Right.
for terraforming.
Yeah.
And I think you pointed out that his vision might be at odds with the Fremen way of life.
Totally.
And that tension is, I think, so crucial to the whole story.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to like exert their will on Arrakis, but Arrakis is like, no.
Exactly. Arrakis has other plans.
Yeah. And then, of course, everything goes sideways with the betrayal of the Atreides.
Right.
You said this is the part that had you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, totally.
And I can see why the
Yeah.
Baron Harkonnen, I mean, his cruelty knows no bounds.
Yeah. He's truly evil.
Remember how you highlighted Dr. Yu's betrayal?
Yes.
I mean, the Atreides' trusted physician,
I know.
manipulated by the Baron,
Oh,
becomes the instrument of their downfall.
it's awful.
It's the stark reminder that even in the face of, like, apparent kindness,
Right.
treachery can lurk beneath the surface.
Absolutely.
That scene where Duke Leto is captured,
Oh.
the way Herbert describes his resolve,
Yeah.
in the face of certain death, it's just heartbreaking.
It's so sad.
And then we have Paul and Jessica
Right.
fleeing into the deep desert, relying on the very people
I know. It's incredible.
that they were sent to rule
Yeah.
for survival.
It's a crazy turn of events.
It's nuts.
It's like a complete 180.
It's insane. And they're found by Stilgar and the Fremen.
Right.
And that scene you pointed out where Paul faces the Tahati challenge
Yes.
against Jameis,
Oh, my gosh.
pure intensity.
That scene is so good.
Oh, my God.
The Toddy Challenge is more than just like a fight, you know?
Yeah.
It's a ritual. It's a way for him to prove his worth
Totally.
to the Fremen to earn their trust.
Right. And it's here that he begins to shed his Atreides identity and
Yes.
embrace the Fremen way of life.
He has to become one of them.
And he literally takes on a new name, Muad'Dib,
Right.
given to him by the Fremen.
Yeah.
It's like the desert itself is changing him,
Totally.
molding him into something new.
It's like a crucible.
Yeah.
He's exposed to these new ways of thinking, these new beliefs.
Yeah.
And, of course, the potent influence of the spice.
Oh, yeah.
His prescient abilities already heightened. They begin to merge with Fremen prophecy.
Right.
It's like blurring the lines between who he is and who they believe him to be.
It's like he's stepping into this preordained role,
Right. Yeah.
fulfilling their prophecy of Muad'Dib. There's a darkness to it too, right? Remember that passage you underlined
Yeah.
where Paul's like, I see a future consumed by this holy war, and it's fought in my name.
Yeah, Herbert doesn't shy away from like the dangers of religious fervor,
No.
even when it's like intertwined with genuine belief.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like Paul's prescience becomes a tool for both unification and manipulation.
Right.
And that line between the two becomes increasingly blurred.
Totally blurred.
And this kind of reminded me of that article you shared about like the Orange Catholic Bible.
Yeah.
That failed attempt to create this unified religion for the Imperium.
Right.
It's like both of those things really highlight the challenges of like reconciling these diverse beliefs.
Oh, totally.
And how power can just corrupt even the most noble of intentions.
It's so true. And you know what's interesting is even though we're talking about these huge themes,
Right.
you know, religion, politics, ecology,
Mm-hmm.
Herbert makes it so personal,
Yeah.
so immediate.
He does.
I was thinking about that scene you pointed out where Paul is describing like the taste of the spice
Oh, yeah.
and how it like heightens his awareness.
Yeah.
It's almost sensual.
Totally.
The way he describes it.
It's so visceral.
It is.
His writing.
It's like you're right there with him.
You're in it, you know?
And you can't talk about Dune without talking about the violence.
Oh, yeah.
This constant struggle for survival on Arrakis.
Well, it's all about survival.
You mentioned that battle scene.
Yeah.
You found so intense with the sandworms.
Oh, my God.
It's like cinematic.
It's so
The
visual.
way he describes it,
The way he writes, it's like you're watching a movie.
it's crazy. And he doesn't shy away from how brutal this world is.
No, he doesn't.
Like how even a moment of inattention
Right.
can mean the difference between life or death.
It's true.
Yeah, and I think the violence always serves a purpose.
Totally.
You know?
Gratuitous.
It's not, it's like he's highlighting
right.
the high stakes of this conflict and
Mhm.
what people will do for power
Yeah.
or for survival.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you think about the choices we make.
Totally. Right.
Yeah. It makes you think about the choices we make.
Totally.
Right.
The paths we take and the consequences that follow.
Right.
We see it with Paul grappling with this destiny,
Yes.
with the Harkonnens being driven by their greed,
Of course.
even with the Fremen just fighting for their existence.
Right, and that's the power of this book, I think. I know it is.
It's this epic space opera.
It is.
But at its core, it's really a story about, like, the human condition.
Yes.
You know, our capacity for both good and evil.
Yes.
The choices we make in the face of overwhelming odds.
You know when you sent me that final excerpt you wanted to discuss?
Yeah.
The one where Paul is standing before the Fremen army?
Yeah.
And he just has this look of, like, steely resolve.
I know.
I got choked.
It's like he's become a force of nature himself.
He's become Muad'Dib.
Yeah.
He is the fulfillment of their prophecy.
Right, but at what cost?
Right.
That's the question.
At what cost? And Herbert leaves us with this lingering question, right?
He does.
Like, will he be a force for liberation?
Right.
Or tyranny?
Right. Can he escape the fate
Right.
that he's seen?
Right.
Or is this,
Or is he destined to become the very thing he fears?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, so much to think about.
I know.
This has been incredible.
It really has.
Thank you so much.
Of course, this has been so fun.
For taking this journey through Dune with me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Honestly, Dune is just this gift
It is.
that keeps on giving.
It does.
Every time you read it, every time you talk about it, there's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. And for all of you listening out there, we have only scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah.
Dune is a book that demands to be re-examined. And I have a feeling
Oh, yeah.
this is just the beginning of your journey
This is just the start.
into this incredible world.
It's a wild ride.